Greetings, race fans. I hope everybody's doing okay on this Thursday evening. Welcome to Multi-21's weekly Group 3 100-mile race. Today's race is going to run 32 laps around a very, very wet Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. This promises to be a real love fest between the cars and the barriers. So stay tuned, folks. I think you're in for a real treat. Let's get into spectator mode and find out what's happening on the track. We've just begun qualifying. And so far, Dan East is sitting there in the lead, but picked up a half-second penalty. He's going to let Willie by. There's ain't much use. The slippery conditions and whatnot. Still, it promises to be a whole lot of fun for us. For the drivers, we'll see. Let's see how Adam's getting along inside of his. I think he's got the Toyota today, or is it's the Porsche. Oh, it was Dan said he's driving the Toyota, and he doesn't have a lot of hope for himself because the car's a little bit loose in the tail on a wet track. So we'll see. Not reality. All right. You're looking good in there, Adam. Adam's got his Sonic the Hedgehog livery, as he does every week. And here's Dan and his Supra. Looking good, keeping it real clean. He's got the Ferrari today with his Sky livery. Let's get on back here to Rob, aka Splatter. And Rob is sporting his taxi livery once again, just like last week. Let's see if he can pick up a fare or two while he's on track. And welcome Timeless Judicial. Our own Sergio Carnielli. There's Mark Burnup. Mark likes that Mustang. I'm not so sure he's going to like it in the rain today. True to form, off he goes and back into the paddock for another shot. Ah, there he is. I was wondering where Justin got off. And Justin is driving a Ferrari today. Got a little tight. All right, Willie Ham's got a 221. Let's get the display set up so we can see what's happening with the drivers here. As Justin picks up a penalty for that corner cut. Alright, they are going, it looks like, full wets today. Okay, Justin's got intermediates on. I think that's a little hopeful. It's a pretty wet track today. It looks more like a pond than a racetrack. So, you and your companion may need to be looking at a different set of shoes. Alright, so Willie apparently has the wet weather mojo, as he has a 1.2 second lead over his nearest competition in Adam Vine. Dan East has a respectable 2.23.4. And it's a 222.3, and Willie at 221. So one so far who's cracked 221. And Mark is still trying to get a clean lap out of this mess. I'm sure I've often said the Mustang is not exactly a handling car. It will get a little tail happy, particularly in the wet. It's from America. I got it. Don't rain America. Just don't build it for that. I'm sure anybody in the Pacific Northwest is grinding his teeth right now since I said that. Let's see if Mark can get around and get us a clean lap here. He's pretty fast. He's got his assists on today. Small wonder, and who can blame him? He's on the full wet tires right now, as you can see in the left-hand corner. So far, we haven't had any changes to the leaderboard. Mark is still trying to get a clean lap in. And Dan and Adam have both set better times. That has not changed their positions in the grid yet. And King Racer, Aaron Santos, moves up a bit, sets a 223. All right, so Mark's got him a good time now, 223.9. Still have him at the back, but I think he's just warming up. All right, and Rob has set a new best time, 224.0. That puts him ahead of Sergio, timeless judicial. I'm going to change the display. Let's just we're going to display the names as nicknames since they're a lot easier to pronounce. There we go. All right, gonna make it easy for the old man. And here's Justin J. Getting a little wiggly. Dale likes to get loose in these cars. This is so wet. And Justin is still on intermediate tires. I'm not sure if he knows where the dry lines are, but he is giving it all he's got now. And who is following him so closely? Okay, Mark's going to stand on the full wets. Timeless judicial is full wets. I think everybody is full wets except for Justin. Trying to do it a little bit differently, see if his strategy pays off. All right, Willie has continued to set the bar with the 221.1. Adam has brought it up just a little bit, just a full second behind now instead of a second and a half or so. Pardon me. Adam, not too far behind. There will be a lot of discrepancies in this kind of wet weather between the racers' times. It's just all about how good you are racing in the wet, as you all very well know. It's not everybody's strong suit. That's for sure. I think the advantage goes to the people in the UK here, and we've got a couple of them. Oh gosh, look, there's 8 out of 8. Justin jumps up to P4, but then he gets knocked back by Splatter. But for the moment, he picked up a couple of seconds. Good on you, mate. So Splatter just barely jumps up ahead of him with 18 thousandths. But boy, he really, he really took it. And that was on wet tires, so the wets did help. Now we officially have everybody on full wets. All right, King Racer and Splatter have gone back in for some tires. I hope y'all can hear me okay. If you All right, so Willie continues to lead the pack. We've only got about 3 or 4 minutes left. There's somebody to make an impact and jump Willie. Adam's making a play for it, but even that Porsche is getting loose in the rear end. And that Porsche is made for this track. He goes, keeping it loose, but keeping it in the lines. And he's on his out lap, so he's just going to have to warm up those tires, and good luck to you. For those who are not familiar with the layout of the heads-up display in Gran Turismo, if you look down to the lower left, you'll see, of course, the countdown timer, but then immediately next to that, that blue line on the graph. That is how wet the track is. So that shows what kind of traction, what kind of hydroplaning, I don't know what you call it, but it just shows you how wet the track is. When you start seeing that dark blue line come up, it means that the traction's pretty poor. But the more that dark blue line you see, the worse it's going to be for the car, and much easier for it to become unsettled and go all wacky on the track. So let's go to Willie's car. Maybe we can get an example of that. And see that it's just around slightly more. There's Dan. Yeah, okay, here we go. Right there, you saw Justin. As he got loose, you can see that the car was losing traction on the wet pavement. And boy, he does not have far to go to catch up to Splatter. Now here comes Adam trying to get around him. But Justin, if he's on a flyer, he needs to stay on a flyer. Which kind of, there he goes, he was able to get out of the way there. So Justin's clearly not on the flyer and Adam is. That will possibly affect Adam's lap. There is still a little bit of time for him to make another one up. His tires are in great shape. Now, Adam's gone to the intermediates. You know, I'm not sure if that's a great idea, but, you know, at this point, you got a 2-second space between yourself and Willie. Because Willie's just dropped a 2:20.0. I mean, that's just insane. You know, he's dropped his best time by a full second, and he's on the full wets. So Adam's going to give it a go on the intermediates and see if he can't make a play here. Unfortunately, I can't see his splits, so I don't know exactly how it's going for him. Car's getting a little jumpy. Let's get inside and watch what his hands are doing. He's not fighting the car too much. Well, there he did a little bit, but not too much. You know, he's not sawing at the wheel or anything like that. And he is hitting his apexes pretty well. So we get into the hard braking zone. This is where you can really see how good the track rate time. Yeah, he's really having trouble keeping control of that. And well behind the line. So 2:21, he has set his best time, 2:21.9, which is a great time given the conditions. So definitely his best lap. Just, you know, not going to quite cut it for this field. As Willie Ham apparently knows how to race in the rain, or he knows how to qualify in the rain. And Timeless Judicial just set a new personal best. That was a 2:25. Yes, it was 2:25.4. And his buddy on the Timeless team, King Racer, just set 2:23.9. Justin is in P6 so far with the 26.2. No, hang on a second, Justin. I can't. Oh, I see you parked it. All right. So I'm not going to know what Justin's best time is until we see the grid here at the end. All right, this is the last lap. I'm going to bump up the volume here just for a second. There we go. Okay, I bumped up my personal volume. Somebody is listening in the Discord. Let me know if anything is too loud or too soft, please. Okay, last lap. Let's see what's going on. That's weird. It's not letting me get out. Okay, here we go. There we go. Yep, looks like we're all settled in. Everybody's lights are flashing, so we have our marks. And there's Dan East, just crossing the finish line. So that should end qualifying right there. Yeah, Willie's flashing lights. We are done. So let's exit spectator. We're just going to have to wait. Got 39 seconds yet to go. Do we have anybody who's doing a flyer here? It does not appear so. Looks like everybody's just kind of bebopping around the track. Yep. That will do it for qualifying, y'all. Here are your results. The grid is in. And Willie Ham gets a full 2 seconds on his nearest competition in Adam Vine. So Viney is at a 221.941. Dan East at a 222.9. So another full second off. Mark pulls it together and lands a very respectable second row with a 223.4. Rob Platter has got a 223.6, not too far behind. Justin's landed in 6th position with a 223.7, very close to Rob's time. And Timeless King Racer with a 223.7, Timeless Judicial with 225.4. Our field is set. So let's get to racing, folks. Yes, it was an amazing lap, Willie. I'll tell you what. Yeah, 220. That's a hard one to beat there. Was it 220 or 219? Gosh, I've forgotten already. Let's go to the replay. But sensational. Just sensational driving on a very wet track. So clearly the full wets are going to be the tire of choice today until something else happens. I'm not sure how variable the weather's going to be. We are set at R08. Lead so far, getting a little wide and wobbly. And Dan has picked up the spot. Now he's in second. And Justin has pulled into third. Mark in fourth. Adam, who dropped back, is now making a play for the inside here and takes 4th position away from Mark. Mark staying right on his pipes, looking for a way to nudge himself in there. Can't quite get it. Let's see how we're doing up at the front here. Here's Justin. There's Dan trying to get around that corner without going into the gravel. Car's getting loose. Justin's car gets very loose and he has to take the corner a little bit too tight. And here comes Vine. And an inch ever closer to Justin, who is really struggling with that 458 around the corners. And Adam gets in, can't quite make the move. As we go around that big bank. Justin's on the intermediates. We'll see how that's going to work out. Let's see, and Dan's on the full wets. Willie's on the full wets. So Justin is, apparently he's very comfortable on those intermediate tires. So good on you, mate. And Adam is now about a second behind, roughly. Mark is about 2 seconds behind him. King Racer holding down 6th position. Rob Platter's hit 7th position. Timeless Judicial 8th. And Judicial is making a play for Splatter. There he goes. They get side by side, but he just can't quite get past him in that tight turn. And he wisely backs off, I think. Looks like he wants to take the inside here if he can. It just gives him a little nudge. No harm, no foul. Everybody's still racing. He's backed off a little bit now. I think he's a lot better. And no, Splatter gets wide, and that lets That lets Sergio in and gives him 7th place. So Splatter's got a little making up to do here after that little off. And Willie has now picked up a 3.5 second gap. So whatever he ate this morning, it's working. Got him ready to drive that Ferrari, that's for sure. Not the easiest car to drive, in my humble opinion. For those who know how, it's a terrific car. They do like to turn. But it's all a dance between the throttle and the brake. With this car here, you got to get it just so. And Willie is making the most of it. It's a bit wiggly there. A 4.25 second gap over Dan, who made his way up from 3rd position and is now a second ahead of Adam. And Adam has finally made his way past Justin. Justin, he's dropped back considerably, and that's put him in Mark's sights. And it looks like this is where the race is happening here, the race for 4th position. And really, it looks like all 5 of the cars bringing up the rear, P4 through P8, has a shot at this position. Here comes Mark around the outside. Nudges in a little bit. Now he's going to try the over-under. And that works as it said, or it seems to work. Am I wrong? Did he get... Oh, he got out of shape, and there goes Mark to the back. Mark got all out of position. And now we've got a yellow flag. Who's out? Yeah, it was temporary. It might have been for Mark. So Mark drops to the very back here with about a second, almost 2 seconds to go to catch up to Rob. Meanwhile, Timeless Judicial is within a second of his nearest rival ahead, and that would be his Timeless mate, King Racer. King Racer now has 2.5 seconds to catch Justin, who has managed to get himself out into comfortable territory. Here's a nice little scrap between the Timeless boys. And Judicial is saying, I'm here. You see me in your mirrors? Right here. Let's get inside King Racer's car here. Take a look back. We'll look at the bumper cam first. So you can see if he's using this view while he's driving, he's going to be seeing that car coming very close. It's just a 1/3 of a second. Cars in the mirror are definitely closer than that here. So you can see right behind him. And then if you go back here, Timeless Judicial is in the same situation pretty much as his buddy King Racer is. So each with about a 1/2 second gap. And then you go back to Rob's car, and that's 1/3 of a second gap, and getting closer. And he's picking up on Judicial. And there he goes. The Splatter takes the spot away from Timeless Judicial. And Sergio wants it back. He really wants it back. Now Splatter goes incredibly wide. Brakes too late. Gets off into the goop. And goes from 6 to 8. Just like that. Now Mark had a little bit of trouble there too, and that gave Splatter a way in. So the Beamer and the Mustang are a real handful today. I think without question. man. All right, so King Racer's out there with a second and a half to his closest rival. And Justin sitting in fourth position has nobody anywhere near him. So he's just racing his race in clean air. Adam is picking up and closing the gap on Dan. Adam was fast in qualifying. He actually out-qualified Dan. Don't know how much the conditions have changed for the race, but Adam has put down a 220.9, which is a lot better than the time he posted for qualifying. I think that's about a second better than his qualifying time. So he is right up on the back of Dan. Dan's best time so far is at 2:23. So Adam is really bringing the race to Dan. And Dan is leading our field. Oh, but Adam brakes too late, takes a little wide. Oh, no. Here we go. Apologies. We'll get right back into it here in just a second. And having a world of problems with my internet connection here. All right, so when we get back to the race, spectator mode, here we are. When we get back to the race, everybody's going to be out of position. They just have to make a complete circuit and it'll all sort out. So bear with us. Again, apologies. It seems to happen every time I get on here after about like the third or fourth laps. It'll be a little cattywampus for a while. But we just need to get everybody to get through one lap. We can sort out. So here's King Racer. I believe he is in sixth position. He's getting a little bit loose in that Supra. So Aaron has Sergio right on his tail. Seems like a lot of the guys like the Supras. A couple of them at least really like the Supras, and they're great for the dry racing, which most of it is. But boy, not so sure about the wet. Let's get back to Mark and see. I think Mark may be in the back. Let's have no Splatter's in the back. So here's Willie up front. And Dan and Adam cutting it real close here. Adam has been trying to get that position away from Dan, and he finally pulls it off. And they have been struggling for 2 or 3 laps. Each one trying to outdo the other, and I think Adam has finally won that battle. Adam has been putting down killer laps. He just put down a 220.9, which is the fastest lap of the race. That's not going to show up here on my screen, unfortunately, because of that glitch. All right, let's see if this gets sorted out. There's Justin accidentally flashing his lights. Takes out a cone for his trouble. All right, I do not see any tire wear, so tire wear must be turned off for this race. I guess they're showing the racers that much of a kindness. I think that was rather decent of you, Justin. So this will be what amounts to a sprint race from the look of it. Unless, you know, that's part of the glitchiness of my little mishap there a little while ago. Yeah, I'm not really sure what's causing that, but trust me, it's annoying. I'm still waiting for this to sort itself out. So Justin's being given the blue flag. Let's see why. Who's he got behind him? And that is times judicial. So here are your leaders. Ignore those numbers. Willie is P1, Adam is P2, Dan East is P3. Looks like Justin's going to be P4. The blue flag warning is nothing to concern yourself with. As Justin goes a little bit wide. Yeah, that's just my PlayStation. I'm thinking that it's a situation that doesn't actually exist. So looks like Splatter's bringing up the rear. Marky's in 7th. King Racer's 5th. So it looks like we are finally sorting out now. Yeah, you have to do a complete circuit of the track, it seems like, before this thing will finally get its brains back. And we are on lap 7. Everybody's in the correct order, so fingers crossed this thing doesn't break down again. So Willie is in the lead, 11.5 seconds. Willie is really pouring it on. I don't want to say followed closely by Adam Vine. I'll be lying to you. But Adam is in a solid second position. Dan's at P3. Trying to keep that Supra's rear end on the track and not the gravel. One thing you don't want to do here is you don't want to step on the grass, especially if you're turning the wheel. That's true everywhere, but there's grass all over this track. It's so easy to get into it. And the grass will be up on the curbs. So the water will be really, really heavy at the curbs as Dan all but proves my point there by just taking that a little bit too wide. And with those dirty tires, his car starts fishtailing. Let's see how he's doing. The inside view. Now all these guys, because they're smart drivers, are putting on the traction control. Not sure because I can't see what the actual setting is, but I think everyone is using traction control here. I mean, what else you want to do? In real life, these GT cars would have traction control. So no reason not to have it on. There's no shame in it. On the contrary, it's much more realistic. Alright, so here's Adam getting into the chicane. And boy, Adam is just doing a great job keeping that Porsche planted. Every time he hits that spot, he wants to go off, but he wrestles it back on the track. And that's got to be the third or fourth time I've seen that happen to him in that last turn. So Willie's out to almost 13 seconds ahead. Willie's been putting down some consistent times. 221s, 223. Adam, 222s. Yeah, a 220 in there someplace. Unfortunately, that's not showing up. That may also have been part of the glitch, so maybe I should just ignore it. Because Willie is now showing the fastest lap at 221. I think that was a glitch. And here's Dan with his best at 223, but Dan has been having his issues with that 228 there. It's very uncharacteristic of Dan's driving, but, you know, conditions, the car you're driving, it all adds up. Justin's solidly into fourth position. It's just straining to get that car turned. Looks like his Ferrari was getting a little bit loose. Wasn't quite getting the traction he wanted. And it's looking cozy now. And he gets to the Valvoline curve. And the Ford curve, nice and neat. Coming on up to the Dunlop. This one is a really, really tricky hairpin. It just keeps going. You think you're just going to be turning forever with full lock. And it finally comes out straight. This here on a normal day in these cars, you can often take flat out. And that ain't happening here. Not today. As Justin ever so slowly starts healing the breach between himself and Dan. And I've got a spider on the corner. Excuse me. Oh, no. That's better. Oh, he's on my leg now. Adorable. All right, you can stay there, but don't touch my wallet. Let's see how he gets through the chicane here. Now, I believe Justin is the only one on a controller. I may be wrong. I should look back and see who else might be using one. But Justin is quite a pro on this controller here. I've always been after him to get a wheel, but given the way he's driving, I'm just going to shut my pile. And he is still making gains. He has picked up probably a good 2.5 seconds on Dan. He gets a little wide, gets off into the marbles, but he's making his way back on. Really making a race of it. Alright, let's get into race view. Ignore the flashing lights. It's just something that happens when you're on a controller. And here's Dan. He's trying to keep it on track as much as possible. And just the wheels want to go out and that car wants to go wide every time you make a turn. If you're not pitch perfect, it can be an ugly experience for sure. And Dan is now 3 3/4 seconds ahead of Dan. Let's say Dan, I meant Adam. It's about 4 seconds ahead of Dan. Willie, 18 seconds ahead of Adam. So Willie is just running this race all by himself in clean air at the moment. And as far as tire changes go, since it doesn't appear we have any tire wear, pitting is going to be optional, and at least until they run out of fuel. And it's definitely a fuel race. Speaking of fuel, it looks like Timeless Judicial, Sergio, has really good fuel economy. I'm looking at his fuel economy. Well, Splatter's is 2 in the Beamer. Actually, his is a little bit better. But the rest of them are looking at a quarter tank of petrol. So Willie is a little bit better, a little bit to the good of a quarter of a tank. Adam is doing real well with a third. Dan is not doing too bad, but Justin is eating up a lot of fuel. Given how hard he's pushing, I just guess that shouldn't make too much of a surprise. He may also be getting a lot of wheel spin too, and using up extra gas that way. All right, so King is getting back up on Judicial. Still just worlds behind Justin, as Justin loses a little bit of that space that he had to add to Dan. And Dan has now dropped 3.5 seconds behind Adam. Who's been very fast. He's awfully quick in that 911. But as I say that, I watch Willie Hammond, the Ferrari, running away from everybody, and I don't know what to say, man. Guy ate his Wheaties. All right, so here comes Mark. Decided he's going to fuel up. Let's see if he replaces those wet tires. Am I seeing red? Okay, I'm finally seeing a little bit of red there. It looks like we do have a tire wear race. It just isn't very much tire wear. So that gives Splatter P7. Walmart goes in there for gas and tires. Being Racer in 6, with a 2-second gap to Timeless Judicial, P5. with a 7.5-second gap to Justin in P4. And Justin looks like he may be going a little bit in the wrong direction with regard to Dan. But if you look at his lap times, they're really good, very consistent. He clearly knows this track, and, knows how to race in the rain. As clearly so does Dan, Adam, and Willie, especially Willie. 221s from top to bottom. Watch out for that cone, bud. Get your car hopping. So as we come onto the front straight, onto lap number 11. The 3 cars in the camera shot belong to Vine, Dan East, and Justin. With about 3 seconds separating each one. So at the moment, this is your closest competition. And Mark is still in the pits. What's going on, Mark? Have you given up on yourself? Mark may have had a glitch. This will happen occasionally when somebody has a glitch and drop them in the pits and they'll never come out. Well, let's hope that gets sorted out, Mark. I'm real sorry to see that. You had a really good race going. So, for the time being, the race is between Justin, Dan East, and Adam Vine. And while those gaps appear to be wide, there goes Dan. Looks like Dan's headed off. Oh, was that Justin? Nope, Justin headed off, and that's going to give Sergio a shot at his bumper. So, because of that little bloop there, it looks like Justin's got his work cut out for him. And Judicial is trying to get into that slipstream. Not an easy thing to do. Depends on the view that he's taking. If he's taking a bumper view, he's going to be able to see okay. If he's doing an in-car view, it could be a real struggle with the rooster tails coming up behind the cars. As Judicial goes past and Justin jumps into the pits, as his fuel is almost gone. Yeah, and Justin was using the most fuel on the track. I'm sure he was pushing as hard as possible, making a great race of it. But you know, everybody has to go into the pits eventually, so we'll see how it shakes out. And Adam just dropped to 222. Willie dropped yet another 221. With a 25-second lead almost. He will probably get 2, maybe 3 laps. He's just under a quarter of a tank. Adam is right at a quarter. Dan's just a little below, with minimal tire wear. And Sergio has got great tires, not a lot of fuel. So I think he's going to be going in. Oh, Johnny Mackers just left the room. Well, thanks for watching, Johnny. I guess you had somewhere else to be. But really glad you were here to watch what was shaping up to be a pretty good race. Let's see. Hey, Glava. Oh, terrific. Okay. Yeah, Glava is telling me he's watching the stream. It says picture is stuck. And that may, again, be a function of my internet connection. For that, I greatly apologize. I'm going to need to contact my provider to find out what's going wrong here. So thanks for the feedback, Bubba. All right. Well, since the feed isn't great, let me talk you through it here. In P1, we have Willie out very far ahead, 25.5 seconds and gaining. Adam Vine is in P2. He is about 3.5 seconds ahead of Dan Easton, P3. And 11.5 seconds behind is Sergio Carnielli, Timeless Judicial. Aaron Santos, the King Racer, has just jumped into the pits for fuel. He is just about dry. And Splatter is still sporting the same tires, still has a good bit of fuel, just a little bit below a quarter. Justin is back out on his out lap, still on the intermediate tires, so interesting choice, I would think, but clearly he favors them. And Mark is still in the pits, unfortunately. Looks like, yeah, it says he's fueling. I hope that means something good's about to transpire. No, just looping. So it looks like we're down to 7 drivers, y'all. As Willie pours it on. Willie is having no trouble getting his fuel numbers. He's got 13 laps. He's at 1/8 of a tank right now. Probably good for at least 2 more. So he's going to be going through roughly half the race on a single load of fuel. Adam actually has more fuel. His tires are in great condition. So if Adam can maintain his pace, it will put him out in front of Willie, albeit briefly. He's certainly not going to cover a pit delta of 26.5 seconds. It's something would have to go terribly wrong. So here's Dan in 3rd position, nobody close to him. You can see Adam's tail lights, but that's about it. And depending on the camera that he's using, the view that he's using inside the cockpit, he may not be able to see anything at all. It's very rainy here today. And here's Judicial, 11 seconds behind Dan in P4. Splatters made it up to P5. He was dead last for a good long time, so he's managed to tick up ever so slightly. And Justin, who was holding down P4 for the longest time, has gone in for tires, and that has put him back for the moment. Tires and fuel both looking good for Justin. And King Racer's out of the pits on his out lap, full load of fuel. I think he's kept the same tires. Looks like he didn't do a tire change, which, you know, why would you? There's really no wear here. All these guys are pretty good in the rain. As Willie gets to the Castrol chicane. It's around the forward curve. Oh, no. I was in the wrong part of the track here. I see where he's at now. Yeah, he's coming to the bit curve right now. I'll be taking this dog leg flat out. And he is getting a fuel warning, so Willie should be coming in on this lap. Gives it the full beans, doesn't lift. Hits the brake real hard. Looks like he's just kind of bouncing that brake. He's been really cautious. As the traction control comes on hard now, is Willie going to come in? He is not going to come in. He's decided that he has enough fuel for one more lap. And while he won't get through half the race, he's going to get through pretty doggone close to half the race. He may want to save fuel on the second go. And Willie has put down a 2:20.9. 14, I believe it was. Maybe 13. All right, so here's Adam. Still plenty of fuel. And Dan is going to have to watch it. He's coming around turn 2. And so he has got a ways before he's going to get to the start-finish line, or at least to the pit lane. So he's gotten a little bit close. Tires are in great condition. Yeah, he seems to be nursing it right now, which I think is a wise choice, because, wow, he does not have much in the tank. Whereas Adam, on the other hand, is an eighth of a tank, so he's comfy. He's got a couple laps left in him. He's going to get probably well past the halfway point. So it could come down to fuel economy. Who knows? Willie may have to really nurse it if he wants to get a complete race out of that next fill up. And Splatter's getting the warning. And he's at about, oh gosh, he's got a long ways to go yet. He's just now, he's just now getting out of the Castrol corners. And just picked up a half a second. It shouldn't do any real damage to him. Timeless Judicial has picked up a little bit of time, but that is changing now. This looks like we got Justin's pulled away from just a little bit. And Justin is getting on Splatter's tail here. He's really picking up speed. So within 2 seconds, he's in striking distance. He's on a full load of fresh tires. And Judicial, of course, he's just coming out of the pits. All right, so Justin's about ready to hit the penalty line here. Let's see what that does for Timeless Judicial. I think with a 2 second gap, probably not a whole lot. I think the tougher thing is going to be to catch back up to Splatter. And down he goes. And picks it right back up. That drops his gap by about a full second, maybe more. That brings Judicial back in the hunt. Not for long as he bounces through those corners and slows himself down. King Racer's gotten all kinds of out of shape. It looks like he is well back in the back. The Splatter goes in for fuel. Be interesting to see if he goes in for tires. Now Justin picks up P4 thanks to Splatter's pit stop. Now Justin, we're at lap 16. And he is down to half a tank. He may not have taken a full load when he pitted last. But that's a lot of fuel going. Still, he's in P4, so I'm sure he's not complaining. Willie is pitted. He's now on his out lap. Did he get fresh tires? No, he kept the tires that he had on, but he got a full load of fuel. Same as Adam. Adam is going to have to pit on this lap here, so we knew the pit delta wasn't going to help him. Although he may pick up a couple of seconds from where he was, depending on how long it's going. He doesn't have to change tires, so it should be a quick stop. I think he may want to do it on this lap because he's not going to be able to push otherwise. And wrong go. He's staying out for another lap. He's got the fuel to do it. Thinks he's got the speed. This will lighten up his car. His nearest competition is Willie Ham. Willie's very fast, but Willie's also sporting a full load of fuel. It could make a difference. Both on wet tires. Both driving very well in the rain. But it still looks like Adam's having a rough time keeping Willie out of his sights. Willie just seems to be biding his time. He's not trying to get into his slipstream or anything, as Willie goes a little bit wide. Don't think he'll pick up a penalty in that spot. No, you don't. You can go pretty wide in that corner. That's coming down to Castrol S. Here comes Adam with a 1 1/4 second lead, and Willie is playing it safe, playing it cool. He knows that Adam's going to have to jump into the pits here. So Willie's just going to play it cool, not get into any dirty air, not get loose in the front. It's one thing when you're going at speed, especially in a situation like this, you do not want to get caught up in that dirty air. It will make that front end very light. Let's see what's going on in the back here. This is by far the closest race on the track at the moment. As Adam picks up significant amount of space, Willie must have gone over onto the edge, got loose, and had to fight the car back onto the track. Because, yeah, he took a big hit. He dropped almost a second there. As Adam comes around, gets into the pit lane, and he says, well, not going to make it on another, gonna make it on another lap. It's time. So Adam comes in with just a liter of fuel as Willie takes the lead. Let's see if Adam takes a tire change. It's a while until he actually gets into the pit box. And he's in the box now. Yeah, looks like no tires, just fuel. Yep, no tire change. Wise move, there's so little tire wear here on this wet track. And he's coming out. Starting his out lap right now. Gap is 30 seconds. So, question is, will this come down to fuel economy? With 30 seconds gap between himself and Willie, but Willie in the previous run using a little bit more fuel, does that mean Willie is going to have to slow it down a little bit and watch his fuel? Is that going to give Adam an opening? Inquiring minds want to know. Inquiring minds will find out in about 15 laps. So here's Dan, out all by himself. 19 seconds ahead of Justin, who is well established in fourth position by Mark. I'm so sorry about what happened to you there. I hope everything gets resolved. We're going to miss you. You were driving really well. And Judicial, Sergio Pernielli. Hold down P5. Aaron Santos, the king of racers. Hold down P6, a minute 12 behind Willingham. And Rob Platter, minute and 32 seconds back from the leader. Just finding that taxi cab to be a whole heap and handful. Still racing valiantly, staying on track, keeping it clean, keeping it fair. Just like you like to see, and just like you pretty much always see on Multi-21. Get in here and race, people. What are you waiting for? Join up. You can join our Discord channel. Just look for Multi-21 Racing Community on Discord. not a whole lot of change here up front. Seems like Willie is kind of nursing that thing a little bit more than he was. Not being quite as aggressive on the fuel usage as he had been. Still goes a little bit wide there. Adam is keeping that portion in shape. He's actually, my goodness, he's actually used quite a bit of fuel now. I know he took a full load, but Willie, yeah, he is nursing that. He is nursing that gas pedal. Just he's decided that I got a really comfortable lead. I don't need to just go balls to the walls. Again, nothing dirty about that. Look it up. Comes from World War II. Yeah, as Adam is now just going through all kinds of fuel, so the tables have really turned. Not sure, I guess Adam is being extra aggressive, trying to make up that gap. So if it comes down to being a fuel race, it looks like advantage Willie. And here comes Dan, and Dan is actually doing better on fuel than Adam is. So perhaps the race is for P2. It's only a 9-second gap. I know it sounds like a lot, but when you're running out of fuel and you have to drop a second or two a lap, it will make a difference in a big hurry. As Justin just ever so carefully takes it around that tight turn. That Dunlop corner is just, man, it just goes on forever. As Judicial fights his way through clean air and water, he's doing all right. It's his fastest lap. It looks like he put down a 2:23.6, but he's got a faster lap than that in the bag somewhere earlier on. And King Racer on there in Santos. Putting down respectable lap times. And Rob has put down some really good times too, but every now and then it looks like his car just doesn't want to stay on the track. His last 2 laps have been okay. He's been holding it together pretty good, so let's hope that streak continues. And Willie thought he had set the fastest lap with the 2:20.7, but here comes Adam with the 2:20.6. So, beats his fastest lap by better than a tenth. Does fine. Yeah, 1.109 to the good in this sector too. Is Adam. So yeah, I think he's getting used to the track now. Maybe the tires are heating up a little bit. Maybe there's not quite so much water. Still looks like it's raining hard though. Don't quite see the puddles that I saw earlier, so there's maybe not quite as much aquaplaning. Still though, car's a handful. I don't care what you're driving. But yeah, Adam is putting down some juicy times. The second sector was also a best. It's purple. And he's picked up a solid 2 seconds on Willie. But as I said before, Willie's fuel economy is quite a bit better. So what Adam's going to do is just go for the pure speed and hope for the best. And we're on lap 20 right now. Adam just pulls in another purple sector, and he's nearly a second to the good of his best time. So something has really changed for Adam so far. If he can hold on to it coming through the chicane here, where he's had a little bit of trouble, and he does, then he could be looking at a 2:19. So fingers crossed. Let's see what he can do. Oh, it gets a little wobbly. Looks like he hit a puddle. 2:19. Yeah, 2:19.8. Fabulous. So Adam is putting together some beautiful laps. He's got a 2:20 and a 2:19 in his pocket now. And he has gone from 30 seconds to 26 seconds behind Willie, which is seemingly insurmountable because that's well inside the pit delta. You know, I should say outside the pit delta for Adam. But, you know, the advantage definitely goes to Willie with those kind of numbers. But if we start seeing Adam's fuel economy improve and maybe Willie's decline a little bit, if he's feeling the pressure, you know, could change the race. So far, though, you look at that, Willie has used an eighth of the tank less, and he pitted earlier than Adam did. So it's tall order for Adam to get P1. But it's wet race, anything can happen. So don't go anywhere. And Rob is continuing to try to keep his numbers to the good. And he's had 4 pretty solid laps. So Rob's finding his rhythm. King Racer, meanwhile, may not be the fastest on the track, but definitely one of the most consistent. Timeless Judicial's putting down some solidly respectable times. Justin's maintained consistency. He's had a couple of 228s. And he'd been running 223s and 24s, so that's given Sergio a little bit of hope at this point. But Justin's maintaining a 2-second gap in spite of a couple of laps that were quite as good as he's been putting down. But, as conditions change on this track, and they do, the amount of water on the track will increase and decrease over time. Those intermediate tires are, it's boom or bust. Either they're going to work really well and give you a little extra edge, or you're going to hit a lot of water and go to hydroplane and say goodbye to your lap. Let's see. Justin's making it work. I should not second guess the strategy. So Dan's got a huge gap between himself and Justin. And Willie has just pulled another 5 seconds ahead of Adam. So something clearly happened to Adam. You look, his last lap was a 2:26. So more than 6 seconds to the wrong side of his previous lap, which was the fastest lap of the race. So that's unfortunate. So yeah, he was putting together some epic times. So that does give Dan East a glimmer of hope that he might be able to snatch P2. He is getting pretty slippy. Look at that rear end just go. He's controlling it, but just so. As he gets into the Dunlop. That just drifts it through the Dunlop corner. He just goes full Tokyo drift. Does clip the apex. That was well driven. See how he does here. Well, he clearly prefers a right turn for drifting as opposed to a left. But you only get points for where you finish. You don't get points for cool, which is very unfortunate because I think he would definitely get the cool award. And you go back 30 seconds to find Justin in 4th position. And Timeless Judicial is narrowing that gap ever so slightly. Justin does blaze through that corner, so he picks up a couple of tenths right back from him. And Justin's got that Ferrari working really well in the corners, despite the miserable conditions. And Sergio has an 18-second gap on his teammate, King Racer. King is well stuck in P6. Rob in P7. Dropping back ever so slightly. He looks like he had a toughie on lap 18. Still holding on now, holding his own, staying in the race. Rob's, don't let this thing fool you here. It's a tough race. It's a wet race, and you know it's always a one-off kind of situation. But Rob, if you look at his previous races, he's a fast boy. Yeah, and Willie's just, boy, the consistency here is really paying off. Yeah, and Adam had an even worse lap on 18. So I want to keep an eye on Adam because yeah, things are working out a little bit differently for him now than they had been, and that's given Dan a shot at his rear. And Dan has closed that gap significantly. I think he's probably closed it 4 seconds in the last lap and a half. So Adam's about halfway around the track here, hitting the outer curve. Doesn't quite clip the apex, which I think was a solid move given how wet the edges are. I think he's being on the safe side, which is smart. Hits that level on the inside. Picks up a half second for something. I didn't see it. Don't know where that came from, but now he's going to have to pour it on a little bit before he hits the penalty zone. Okay. It's through ITT Bogan, into the chicane, hard on the brakes. There's a little touch of trail braking there. Doesn't give it the full beans. So he doesn't spin the car and maintains his lead and then some. I think Dan struggles a little bit through that chicane. And his left rear is starting to show the teeniest little bit of wear, but boy, we're going to get through this race and no one's going to have to change tires. Which must be fun. You spend a whole lot less time in the pits, and that's something we can all be grateful for. As Adam gets very wide second turn, that's a tricky hairpin. It's real easy to outbrake yourself on a wet track. Even on a dry track, it's no picnic. But boy, these conditions, howdy. All right, gets through the Castrol S. It's nice and tidy. Still has that penalty to serve. How's Dan doing here? So Dan's dropped back another second. Really struggling through those tight turns, I think. Small wonder in the Supra. And Judicial and King Racer have now passed Justin, who just pitted a moment ago, I believe. Did you pit, dude? Yeah, I thought I saw you pit. It might have been somebody else, but I think it was Justin who pitted. And there's Splatter, 21.5 second gap to Justin. And Justin is 5.5 behind King, but making a little progress towards him. King's got 22.5 second gap to Thomas Judicial. Dan East a 36.5 second gap, going on 32nd between him and Thomas Judicial. 3 1/3 to Adam, and closing. Now that Adam's having to serve that penalty, that gap should narrow a bit. And it does not, because Dan apparently had a little bit of a mess up there. So lots of space between the drivers. Not a whole lot of competition on track at the moment, which obviously can change at any given moment in these conditions. So while all this is going on, let me show you the series standings really quick. This is last week's results. So as you can see, Dan East with a 30-second lead over Adam. well in control of last week's race. And then Spoon came in third. Willie, who is your race leader by a country mile, came in fourth. Splatter in fifth, and Mark came in P6. So here are your standings. At the moment, we've got Dan East well and comfortably in the lead with 171 points to the good. Right behind him is Timeless Judicial Sergio Carnielli, who missed a couple of races, but is still, he missed round 6 and 7, but still has managed to hold on to second position. Justin J. Kobayashimaru, he is comfortably in third position with a 195 point gap, followed by Adam Vine, King Racer and Santos. Then in P6 we have Mark and Splatter, Willie Hamilton, who has just done a few races, but boy, he's making it look like he's been here forever. Then Fire Woodman, Johnny Mackers, Kobe Avons, Ivan Noland, Ritzenda Blom, Iser Scala, and Jake Witchell, who has not run a race this season. There you have it. So Willie is about to lap Rob. So Rob's keeping it tight to the curve, letting Willie by fair play. I've never really been clear on Multi-21's regulations about blue flags. Because ordinarily, at least in the racing that I am familiar with, if you got a blue flag out, but you're still on the lead lap, you can fight for that position. Now, you know, being an American, I watch a lot of IndyCar, and you know, IMSA and things like that. If you're on a lead lap and you've got somebody coming up to lap you, you can fight him for that position. It has to be fair fighting, but you can fight him for that position, just like you would anybody else. It'll certainly make the drivers in the lead very, very angry, and you won't be a buddy in the paddock for very long. But you're under no obligation to let the guy by if you're running the same lap. As long as you're racing as fair as you would in any other condition, it's on. Here I'm not so sure, so I need to have a discussion with Justin about that. You know, like I said, as an American, I kind of like that. I like that idea. I think it makes for more intense racing. It gives like another teammate, perhaps, who's potentially going to be lapped, a chance to be a spoiler for his team. And while that sounds a little bit ugly, you know, when you see it in practice, it's pretty boss. All right, so there's Adam. Adam is putting down better times now. Being pretty consistent. Looks like he's holding back just a little bit. He's 4 seconds off of his best time on his last lap. So it may be a case where Adam wants to kind of save his fuel and get to the end of the race with just 7 laps to go. Not a tall order. And here comes Dan, very comfortably on the final podium spot with a 38.5 second gap to Sergio, who has all kinds of real estate separating him from Justin, who is easily and well into P6, under threat of being lapped, the 1 minute 54 second gap for the leader. King Racer looks like he will definitely get lapped if he can't step on it. And his last lap was 2:29. Rob is building a consistent set of laps here. He's definitely got stuck to the track a whole lot better than he had been. So well done indeed. Yeah, you're seeing the last 4 or 5 laps. He's not had too much trouble. And that thing could be a beast to get around this track, especially in the wet. I'm not much of a fan of the BMW as far as driving it, but some guys can make it purr. I guess Rob's one of them. As Willie pulls out to a 50-second lead, so nearly a minute on his closest competition. I don't know what Willie's secret sauce is, but damn, this guy knows how to race in the rain. Adam's no slouch either, but boy, there's Mina. 49.5-second lead. That is just, I don't know, that's alien, that's interplanetary. That said, you know, Adam has laid down the fastest lap, put down a 2:21.6 his last time around. Willie, on the other hand, has put a 2:20, has put down two 2:20s. Say that 3 times fast. 2:20s, 2:21s. Boy. Just uber consistent and super fast. And Dan is just trying to keep on that podium spot. If they all keep their current positions by the end of the race, this isn't going to hurt Dan any at all. He's got such a huge lead on the rest of the pack. But it's going to bode really well for Willie's status in the overall standings. I don't know if Willie's got any wins. I'd have to go back and look. But yeah, I think he's back down kind of mid-pack, and this is really going to help. He'll get a bunch of points for this. And if he can pull down fastest lap, which he just did, that's another point in his pocket. 2:19.7. I think Adam was a 2:19.9, so yeah, Willie is just on fire here. Just really bringing it. All right, real quick, I'm going to look at the series standings. Doesn't look like anything's happening on track. It's significant at the moment. So let's look back at the standings and see. So you got Willie down there right in the middle at 8th position. He's got 120 points. If he finishes where he's at right now, he can add 51 to that. 171 there. Rob is in P7. He will get some points for P7, but it won't be a whole lot. He might be looking at 10 points. So that is gonna move Willie up pretty close to where Rob is right now, and you can expect Mark with that unfortunate DNF to drop a couple of spots. Let's see, Aaron is in 6th and he is in 5th overall. Adam, of course, picks up a P2. He's going to be looking sassy. Justin in P5 should be able to maintain third position overall. I think the person who's going to take the biggest hit probably going to be. It's probably going to be Rob. We shall see though. With 4 laps to go, it's still a race. And Adam is 12 seconds ahead of Dan. Frankly, I think Dan is just trying to hold on to that Supra. Figures, you know, it's the one wet race. He has a decent position when he finishes, then you know, he can concentrate on all the rest of them. And frankly, P3 isn't bad by anybody's standards. Certainly not in a normal wet race like this with a car that's as tail happy as that one. Okay. I'm trying to reduce the overhead on my streaming computer. I am not getting good performance here. So you are probably getting a lot of stops in the action, and that is not on you. That is definitely on me. I am for sure having a lot of trouble maintaining this speed. And I've dropped about half my frames. So we'll have to figure out what's going on here. I may have to drop the resolution. The revolution. I have to have a revolution. Take my ISP. But I'll have to drop the resolution for the next race because, yeah, this is just not doing well at all. When you're dropping 45, 46% of your frames, it's not a good thing. But we continue for the moment. So Willie puts down another 220 lap. Adam, not to be outdone, puts down a 220.0. Not really doing anything to close that enormous gap. And as you can see in the lower left hand, Willie has a quarter of a tank of fuel, plenty to get through the next 3 laps. And fine, he's at an eighth of a tank. That's still plenty to get through 3 laps with a third of it already gone. That's really just 2, I want to say 2 1/3 laps. And in the Super, just trying to keep it steady, hold on to it. Sergio trying to keep it on track. It's a nice, neat little slide there. Nothing too bad. Takes the widest line possible, I think, in that Castrol S. As I said before, you can go very wide out of that turn. The actual crack allowance is quite wide as long as you clip the apex on the left-hand side. You don't go over that white line at the very end of the turn, then you're safe. You will see people go more than a car wide out past that zone. There's Justin. 11 seconds back of Sergio. And Aaron has about a half-minute gap on either end of his car. And Rob's down 306. Blue flag coming up for Rob. Let's see who's got in his rears here. Yeah, not sure why they're calling a blue flag. Oh, I see. Here it comes. Let's see how wide you can go now. He won't take a penalty for that. I don't think that's Willie. I think that may be Adam. But this is a fun series of curves. If you hit it just right, you can get through it real fast. So Rob's going to let him by. Very sporting. Thank you, Rob. Let's have a look at some liveries. There's Sergio's livery, the Timeless Racing Team, which I think is out of Brazil. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's out of Brazil. He and Air are both from Brazil. I presume living in the UK. Here's Justin. The Doctor and Companion livery. Oh, just trying to hang on. Just swimming all over the track. His tires are in good shape. It just has to be a function of how awfully wet it is. But Justin's put in a couple of 221s. That's like right there with the leaders. And King Racer, Aaron Santos, here we are in our final lap. So Willie, 53.5 seconds in the lead. About at the halfway point when he gets through the hairpin down here. And not getting too excited, just keeping it well onto the racing line. Staying strapped to the track. As Adam comes out of the Castrol lessons. So well behind Willie. He's got splatter in his mirror, but Rob's already been lapped. As Dan East comes through, Castrol S. And Willie comes up to ITT Bogan. Doesn't lift. Just misses the curb. Got somebody off. But we'll follow Willie since he is going to be coming up to the start-finish line in about 10 seconds. We will have our race leader and our race winner. Congratulations, Willie Ham. A great race. Just enough fuel to get through. Here comes Adam on his last lap. And this should mean that most of our folks in the back have already finished their races. Adam's now coming up to ITT Bogan. Yeah, it's a little wide. Probably gets a little bit loose there too. You can see by its tracks. And, oh man, just about got himself out of shape. And just enough so he'd have to miss that corner. He may take a half second. It's not going to hurt him. I think that was just a racing incident. And I think the electronic gods are in the smile line. So Adam comes around the final turn. Coca-Cola curve, so I like to call it here. And dances his way into P2. Flash of the lights. Thanks, Adam. Oh, I like it when you do that. And Rob will come in P7. Here comes Dan East. We're on that last Coca-Cola corner. See if he can keep it in shape. Stays off the water. Dan crosses the line for P3. So that will keep him very comfortably into first position overall in the championship. Here comes Timeless Judicial. Making his way to Bogan. Gets a little wide, but the car stays steady. He's carving out nice, clean lines. Doesn't even get the slightest bit loose in the chicane. As he comes around Coca-Cola, he is going to come in ahead of Justin by 12 whole seconds. And crosses the line. That's a fine race, Sergio. And Justin is going to be our last person on track. There he goes into P5. Excellent race. Very good. Well done, Justin. Well done, all of you. Absolutely brilliant racing on the part of Willie Ham. He got pole, but it wasn't the easiest race to do. So there you have it, Willie Hamilton with an insurmountable 57.6 second lead, nearly a minute ahead of his nearest competition in Adam Vine, who comes in P2 and just misses getting the fastest lap. Willie poured it on toward the end and snatched that away from him. That'll be 51 points for Willie. Third position, we get Dan East, minute and 16 behind the leader. Best lap of 2:22.2, quite respectable. Timeless Judicial, Sergio Carnielli at 2:22.2 with his bestest lap. Justin with a 2:21.7, which is going to come in at third best. Takes P5. King Racer P6. Rob Platter gets P7. And Mark gets a DNF because apparently his connection broke down worse than mine did. Well done, racers. Really enjoyed it. It was great to watch. Justin, thank you again for hosting the race. Congratulations on our winner. Thanks to all the drivers for putting on a really good show today. I hope you all enjoyed it. Take care and ta-ta for now.